Are you racist?
I am the least racist person that you have ever met.
Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Welcome to the Don Lemon Show.
I don't have to answer questions from the reporters. Don, the only reason I bring this interview is because you're on the X platform and you asked for it.
Mr. Lemon, oh my God, I love watching you on TikTok. And I'm like, wow, that's different than my grandma loves watching you on CNN. I will not stop now.
Wow.
Uncuffed.
Uncuffed.
Wait a minute. I brought these because you.
Oh, all right, fine. Whatever.
I don't.
Fuck you. Fine. That's great.
No, I'm good.
All right, look, we apologize in advance for what's about to happen here.
We're all friends.
We're all friends. Listen.
How are you?
Good.
Yes.
Uncuffed is really interesting. Do you think she was making a remark about gays?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe Brian, no.
Okay. Anyway, talk about uncuffed, because as I said that, which is kind of a funny way of thinking about it, it's sort of I wouldn't say unhinged, but it's sort of uncensored, unleashed, really, is the word we want to use. But talk about uncuffed. You're wearing a cuff right there. Yeah. So explain what that is on your wrist.
You're right. Considering what happened to me, it is unleashed. But I wear this, I didn't used to wear it. I wore it only to like formal events.
Right.
Now I wear it as often as I can because it was the only reason that anyone knew that I had been arrested and detained by the DOJ.
Right.
I was wearing this.
Right.
And I got arrested in Beverly Hills in a hotel in an elevator.
Right, looking good.
When I was detained.
Right.
Coming back from a Grammy party.
Yeah.
And it kept getting caught in the handcuffs that I had behind my back. And I was fidgeting with it. And they said, do you want us to take that off? And I said, yes, but what are you going to do with it?
Right.
And I said, are you going to do the right thing with it? And then I went, I don't know about these guys. So an FBI agent came over and said, will you take this up to my husband, who is in room? And I gave him the room number, and he said, yes, I'll do it. And so when he knocked on the door and gave him this bracelet, that was the only reason anyone knew. Otherwise, they would have been looking for me. They wouldn't have known where I was.
Where you went, because you got detained. All right, let's start with that, because one of the things, I want to get to what you've done here in terms of media, because you and I have talked about this since you left CNN, since you were fired from there. So, and you and I have discussed like where this independent media is going, and I want to get to that, but talk a little bit about where we are right now on your case, and where it is at this point.
One thing before that, I just want to say, I'm so glad that they played that thing of me at CNN in the morning show when I talked about Nikki Haley and not being, I said to the audience, that's not according to me.
Right.
So what I was saying, that's the way society treats women, but somehow everyone thinks that that was my sentiments. And as you know, you knew that was my sentiments. Yes, I did. And so I'm glad they played that. So,
good, but we're going to move on from that, finally.
So my case right now.
You can get over it.
I am, but I'm glad because no one ever plays that.
Let's talk about your arrest and being a felon.
Let's talk about me being a criminal.
Yes.
So the case is going through motions, the judge, everything, the wheels of justice move really slow.
And stupidly.
And so, yes, and so it's going through motions. You have to go through all of these things before you can do one thing, another thing has to happen, and this thing has to happen.
Right.
And it's just moving very slowly. And quite frankly, there are so many people who have either quit or been fired from the DOJ or just from the Trump government in general that they don't have the resources to do it. So they keep extending it, pushing it off, asking for extensions, and that just keeps the entire case going. That makes it more expensive.
Why are they keeping going with this?
Why are they?
Because I interviewed your lawyer, Abby Lowell, who's doing a lot of people, Letitia James, a whole bunch of people. Why are they keeping going on this?
Well, I think it's obvious. I mean, look at James Comey. This is like their third or fourth crack at James Comey. They just won't let it go because Donald Trump wants retribution.
Right.
He doesn't. Anyone who is not 100% on his team.
Yeah, you have never threatened anyone with seashells, which I think...
No, I have not.
This is where we are in the United States. Threatening
seashells,
with, you
right.
know...
For numbers, or a term, if you want to call it that,
Right.
that many people have used before, including his own MAGA sycophants.
Right. I mean,
that
it's
term.
used in restaurants.
That's
you know,
what it is.
It's used for, but he lives permanently in the late 1970s.
It keeps going because they won't let it go.
Yes,
and,
right.
and they're trying to, you know, the Civil Rights Unit of the Department of Justice is really being decimated, and they're using laws that were meant to protect underserved communities and black people against black people in underserved
Right.
communities. It's really,
Right.
really sad because they're trying to prove a point.
Right. They just sued the New York Times today over firing some guy,
Yeah.
not giving him a promotion, a white guy. So,
Yeah.
so that was unfair.
Well, they came in saying, if you're white and you're a male specifically, bring us the information so that we can, you know, start suing and creating lawsuits around it.
Right, around DEI. So you don't imagine that they will just give up? Because they tend to drop things later, right? Correct?
I don't imagine that they would give up, but the thing that gives me solace is that whatever they're looking for is not there. As you know, they still have my phone. That's
Right.
public information.
Right.
And you know, whatever they're looking for is not going to be found in my phone. There's no
Right.
conspiracy. There's no.
There's
you know,
no, let's go into this church
No.
and hit people.
If anything,
with
it's
sticks, right.
the complete opposite. It's like, hey, I'm going to be too early to go to the federal detention center, so is there anything else I can cover?
Right.
And someone says, go to this, and I say, okay, I'll go and see what it is.
Right, right.
And
right.
and that's it.
So I want you to talk a little bit on sort of the broader why you and why now. It's just because you're in his crosshairs, because same way with Comey or others. Letitia James would be among them. He's got a couple that really...
You know, for years, Donald Trump attacked me on social media. He attacked me publicly. He called me the dumbest man on television, and you know, and the same tweet, LeBron James. He's
Called you LeBron James?
I interviewed LeBron
Did he
James at his
mistake
school.
you for each other?
No,
It's possible.
It is possible. I interviewed LeBron James when he opened a school in Ohio.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, Don Lemon managed to make even LeBron James look smart. And they're both dumb, and so the dumbest man on television, whatever. And so he has been attacking me forever. And during his first term, you know, I would be just sitting in my office or walking to the deli or whatever, and people would text me and say, oh, I'm so sorry. And I would say, about what? And they said, Donald Trump has attacked you again. So I stopped following him on Twitter.
Right, yeah.
So forever he has been. So why me and why now? I believe that if it were not for me, that this case would not be a big deal, and it may not be a case at all.
Right.
Because Don Lemon is involved. It became about me when I'm not even the organizer of the protest. I didn't even know the people who were organizing the protest.
Right.
I had never even met the people who were all involved in it. But I think it's because I'm there, and it makes a good story and a good
Right.
case for them to go after it. It's very appealing to his base.
And what will happen if are you worried about any part of it? It's just the retribution, and it's the prosecution, the ability to prosecute you even if it's nonsensical.
I'm not worried about any of it as it relates to me. Is it hard on me and my family and my husband and all those things? Yeah, because, you know, you have to deal with these things. You have to take phone calls from the attorneys. You got to do the motions. I have to go back to Minnesota for certain things. That part is, you know, it's taxing in a sense. The real thing that worries me is the attack on the First Amendment and on freedom of the press. Because the moment people start telling you, which they do in authoritarian countries, telling you what you can report on and where you can report, then the whole thing is over for press freedom. And so this case is bigger than me, way bigger than me. It has ramifications for not just broadcast journalism, print journalism, meaning magazines, and also publishing.
Right.
Where they can go through things and say, you can't report this, you can't talk about this. And also, you know, there's the whole religious aspect of it, where the separation of church and state, where they're not just trying to blur the line, they're trying to erase the separation of church and state,
right.
and somehow, you know, incorporate that into our laws and our legal system.
So let's talk then about what you're doing with independent media.
Yeah.
You know, I think when I saw you the day that you were let go by Chris Licht.
Yeah.
Who's then let go.
You were one of the first people I called.
You were.
You called me, actually. You
did.
said, this is awful.
Yes.
I don't know why they handled it this way, but you're
Right.
going to be okay.
Yes, I
As
did.
long as you are not too used to, you
Town
call it a town car. And I said, Kara, they don't even make town cars anymore. It's
Right.
SUVs.
Right.
But
Sorry.
I knew what you
subway.
meant. But you didn't think, you thought I was like so, caught up. Never.
I was worried about it because I'd been
worker.
around CNN people. They like their cars.
That's never, one of the reasons I'm not there, that wasn't me. I was always to them a lightning rod, lightning in a bottle
Right,
and stuff, Zucker
right,
called
right,
me.
right.
But I always worked my ass off.
I didn't say you didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there's years ago when Katie Couric was going to Yahoo, one of the things that one of the people at one of the networks to me called her an anchor monster or
Yeah.
whatever. That's the word they use. And they're like, hey, print that. I go, well, will you put your name to it? And they were like, no, you can say sources said. I go fuck yourself. If you want to call someone an anchor monster, your name goes on.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't get to diminish a woman
Right.
because you think it's hysterical. But one of the things that I was worried about is that being in corporate media, the shift over, and not everybody can do it, right? Not everyone, you know that. And I meet with a lot of people. I hear from dozens of people who want to have coffee. I should run a service about career advice. And one of the things, sometimes I'm like, yes, this person's entrepreneurial. They can do it. In other places, I'm like, you should stay in your job. That's a really good job. You should stay.
Yeah.
But talk a little bit about your journey, because one of the things I thought about you was that you were hardworking and you had you were almost in a structure that didn't quite fit you there. It wasn't right where it was.
Yeah.
Especially, the back and forth with Chris and everything else. It wasn't you. So talk about how you felt when you come down from what was the pinnacle of broadcast journalism to what happened.
Well, it's interesting that you said the pinnacle of broadcast journalism or cable, because when I started, cable wasn't such a desirable place to be in when I started in cable, because I came from NBC.
Right.
And so broadcast kind of looked down on cable. It was like its little, it was the black sheep of the family. And finally, cable came into its own, especially during Donald Trump. And the conversation was happening in cable news, especially at night and in prime time. But I've always been a person a journalist where I wanted to be there. I wanted to be on the scene. I wanted to go to the breaking news. I wanted to go to the war zones, all of that. But my bosses always, we want you to be on the anchor desk because you're a draw and people want to watch you.
Right.
And I was never really drawn to that. I was comfortable there because I'm just comfortable being in front of people, and I liked, telling the story. So when it was over, I didn't quite look at it as a pinnacle. Maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
I felt in an odd way when I got the call, I felt relief.
Free.
I felt free.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the future was going to bring,
Right.
but I felt free. I didn't like my exit. I thought they could have been kinder after 17 years.
Yeah, I would agree, and which I told them.
But I know you did. Thank you.
Yeah, I did.
And
Chris Lick came up to me and was like, look what I did today. I go, shut the fuck up. That's like, you fired
did.
someone. Don't be an asshole.
And then he was shocked 5 minutes later when I walked into
He did. He walks in this Time 100 thing, and I loved you for this. He shows up, and he looks fucking fantastic, just like you did after your arrest. I don't know where you got that suit, but you look good. I was talking to my wife. I was like, how does he look so good? He was in jail all night. He looks fantastic. But you looked fantastic.
Thank
and
you.
you walked in there very proud. So talk about that journey, because first you did the Twitter thing.
Yeah.
Which I advised
Which you
against.
advised me not to.
I did.
And you were right.
Yes, as always. And because I knew him, not you, him. I thought it was a good impulse if it wasn't a lunatic running the asylum.
Right.
And that was the problem I had. And that he wouldn't tolerate your brand of honesty or the way you are. So talk about, you did that, right? And that was a setback, like that you were going to do.
Yeah. Well, looking back on it, obviously you were right. And in hindsight, I don't think I'm not sure that was such a good relationship to have, consider the toxicity of his social media platform and just really of his brand.
Right.
But I believed, and I wanted to go in there and do exactly what he thought that I could do, is sort of try to balance
it's a good idea.
the platform. It was a good idea in theory.
Yeah, I think what I told you is it's a good idea, but
He'll
you're
never do
performing in a Nazi porn bar, so it's great.
So,
Come on.
yeah, that didn't happen. But
Y'all shouldn't be there, but go ahead.
But I moved on because
You did very quickly, which I was very proud
I
of.
am, as I said, I will not be silenced, and whatever I can do, I work very hard. I pivot very easily.
Right, you do.
Pivot.
Thank you.
I didn't even realize I was doing that.
Yeah,
so,
you did.
You guys know Pivot, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think in this, I've always been nimble. I've always self-produced as
Right.
well. It was great in cable news and in broadcast news, because I worked for NBC, to have everybody doing everything for you, micing you, makeup, handing you
Yeah.
scripts, doing your research, rolling the teleprompter, and you just sit there and go, oh, wow, everything is there. So that was all nice, but I often self-produced. If you notice the segments with Chris and me,
Sure, yeah.
Jeff Zucker said, we need a transition between
Right.
shows. And I said, okay, if you want a transition, I'm going to give you one.
Yeah, so you broed it up with him. So that wasn't my favorite part, I'll be honest with you.
But I did challenge him. Did you notice that a lot?
You did. I just am like,
Yeah.
oh, the bro show needs to stop. But it's just my opinion. Talk about what you're doing now, because I think what's really interesting is, one, you do on this, talk about your business. What is it? What is, you have your lemon, what's it called? Lemon Brigade?
I have the Lemon Nation.
Lemon Nation.
And I have, so, hey, use what you have.
Well, thank
Lemon
you,
is an
Beyonce.
unusual.
It's great, but go ahead.
Lemon is an unusual name, and
Right.
it's catchy.
Right.
And so when I do drops,
Lemon heads.
I call it lemon drops.
Right.
The lemon heads, or people call themselves lemon heads. They'll stop me in airports or wherever I am and go, hey, Don, I'm a lemon head. And I'm like,
Right.
great.
Right.
Or I'm part of the Lemon Nation.
Right.
And so what I wanted to do is not just create a channel or a network, which, yes, I do, but it's a community, and people feel like they're in a
Right.
community. They confess their sorrows, their triumphs, their, whatever it is that they have. Live on the network, I allow people to be able to have a voice in this time that we're in right now, this era where they feel like they're voiceless and they don't have a platform. So I have a platform. So if you become a member, you can call in, right? You can actually be on the channel if you're at a certain tier of membership every week. I have a show called The Lemon Legends,
Right.
where they are all on the screen, just like any other contributor, consultant, reporter that's on, they're there. And sometimes it cuts into the viewership because people are not necessarily interested in all of that. But for me, it's worth it because I give people an opportunity to say what's on their mind.
Right, and you also you go out in the street.
I go out on the streets, which is the thing that really has caught on. I started doing it during the 24 election.
Man on the street.
Man on the streets. I was going to swing states and battleground states, and I started hearing a lot of Trump. I like Trump from even demographics that you would not expect. And I got a lot of pushback from liberals and progressives that said, are you somehow curating this? And I said, no, I'm just going out and talking to people. Right. And as it turns out, I was right. He won.
Right. You did. You said it to me, and I was very struck by that, because you were actually talking to actual people rather than...
Yeah, and you sometimes you send me the little note saying, you're not going to make blah, blah, blah happen. And I'm saying, I'm not trying to. Right. But what I often do is, when I talk to people out on the streets, that's where you really find out what's happening, as you know. Right. And
basic reporting.
Basic reporting. And I find now people are going back, I guess maybe cable news has sort of taken a tip from us. People are going back to Man on the Streets because all of the consultants they have sitting around on those desks and, suits, and all of the polling they have, unless you're out talking to people, you don't really get the real picture. And so that has really caught on. That's been something.
But your business, you got into more than 1 million on YouTube, right? Very quickly.
Across all platforms, it's more than 8 million, maybe 9.
Which is bigger than cable ever was.
That's crazy, right?
And your demographic would be lower. So your business comes from YouTube, advertising, subscription?
Comes from YouTube revenue share, sponsorships, speaking engagements, memberships, which we are the shining example of memberships. Right. Everyone wants to know why our memberships are so successful. And I say because we're just not saying, we're going to give you behind the scenes and just videos. We provide them with live access to be on the program and to be part of a community. And so people will, they'll pay for that.
What are you most nervous about when you're doing this as an entrepreneur? Besides it rests just on you. I know that's something I think about.
Sometimes it's too much.
Right.
Because I have to do everything. I used to just have to worry about the editorial and, and a haircut, right?
So growing pains.
And it's growing pains right now because either I have to grow or stay where I am. And right now I'm growing and people want more. They're loving what they're seeing and what we're doing. So it's growing pains. But the tough thing is trying to keep it all together, trying to scale it, and keep it in a place where it's affordable and maintainable. So that's the thing. And one worries, we've had such great success starting. Can it end or can it go down as quickly as it went up.
Right. You'll lose, like what happened to Ben Shapiro recently. His
Right.
numbers are going down. What do you, when you think about independent media, I have two more questions because we have a short amount of time, but how do you feel about independent media? I mean, I've been doing it for a while. A lot of people, again, are calling and wanting to do it. Jim Acosta, everyone's sort of jumping out. And they seem very happy once they've left, which is really interesting. Is it enough to fight? Like, as Emma was talking about, it costs a lot of money to mount heavy investigations. It costs, how do you look at the media landscape right now?
I love independent media, but independent media can't be it. There's a huge role that traditional or corporate media plays because they have the resources. They can do the big investigations. They can go to war zones. It's just that right now the trust is gone. And people aren't watching unless there are big events. Like, people watch live sports. They'll watch live news if there's a big enough event. But unfortunately, there's not a war every day. There's not an election every day. There's not an insurrection every day. And so that business model, as you know, is not maintainable. So I think that is, there's room for everyone. I love independent media. I think people should invest in independent media because that's the only place you're going to get it without the corporate overlords or the influencers in your ear, as you know.
Oh, I know.
And I have friends, and I go on different networks, and people will tell me, you can't say that, we can't talk about this, we haven't reported on this.
Yes, there's a chilling.
I don't have that at all. And
Right.
the Trump administration is going to start coming after independent media because we're not owned.
Right, but it's very hard to do so.
It's hard,
It's
but
hard
they can. You can sue anybody. They
Yes,
can sue
they
you.
certainly can. That's absolutely true. But I think one of the things I'm super careful. I'm not careful. I don't stifle myself, but I make sure everything is completely accurate. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what we spend a lot of time doing.
And a lot of allegedly and reportedly.
Yes. Yeah.
And in my opinion.
Yes, in my opinion. So last question. One of the things. Let me just play this clip here. Let's play this clip.
If I wanted to, I know people are going to think I'm crazy. This is going to be the headline, and people are going to laugh about it. I think I could be president of the United States. I could definitely run this country better than Donald Trump.
Now, I will posit that a squirrel could run our country better than Donald Trump.
I think that was my point, Kara.
All right. So you're a squirrel.
Well,
That got a lot of attention.
that did get a lot of attention. It was
was-
just sort of an off-the-cuff thing that Alex Wagner asked me on
Yeah.
Pod Save America. She said,
Yeah.
have you ever thought of running for office?
Yeah.
And people stop me all the time and ask me,
Yeah.
would you consider running for office?
Yeah.
And the members of my Lemon Nation say, Don, you should be president.
Yeah.
I actually think that I could run this country better than Donald Trump, and I'll tell you why.
All right.
It's not that I'm going to run for president. It's because Donald Trump says, I know better than the generals. I know better than the experts. I know better than Wall Street. Nobody knows technology better than I do. Nobody knows anything better than he does. Well, that's bullshit.
Yes.
There are many people who know many more things
You
who are a
think?
lot better than you.
You know, I think
a lot better
applying
than
to
you.
Donald Trump,
Yeah.
hello, comma, he lied is always a good policy.
But I know being a president is a hard job, but in some ways it's an easy job because the most important part of the job is hiring people who are credible, who have the
Expertise.
experience and the expertise to be able to run whatever position that you appoint them to.
Right.
And so if you want to be a good president, you get a great team around you who this team knows more than you, and you listen to those people. At the end of the day, it's your decision. But if
Right.
you have really smart people around you who you trust, I think it makes being a president easier.
Right.
And the smartest and most effective presidents, that's what they do.
So Kash Patel wouldn't survive a Lemon administration?
Kash Patel would not serve. Kash Patel, nor Pete Hegseth, nor a Pam Bondi.
Well, you outlasted her.
They would, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
None of those people would ever be in a Don Lemon administration.
So-
It would actually be on meritocracy.
All right, away from this ridiculous speculation, would you ever consider running for office?
Yeah, I would. I would. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Wow.
But you're going to go right to friggin' president? Well, why not?
Why not?
All right. Okay.
I mean, I'm a man of a certain age. I've been around long enough. I've worked hard. And you laugh. I know people laugh, but I'm
not.
I'm a completely self-made person. I did not come from a wealth.
Yeah.
I did not have $400 million to start. I have become I've made it
All right.
to the top of my profession.
Yeah.
And I've also started a business. And
Yeah.
I'm a self-made millionaire from a country where my ancestors were enslaved. So I think that's a pretty big accomplishment, whether people want to.
All right, Lemonheads. All right, then last very quick question. A lot of journalists here. What advice would you give them?
I would give them, this is my advice and what I'm dealing with now, is that I believe that journalists are like doctors and attorneys, do no harm. And the best way to do no harm is to tell the people, whether it's the American people or the world, the truth. And to do it without fear or favor, as we say. And to push back against authoritarianism, because that is the death of journalism. And in America, if there are no journalists, if we don't have freedom of the press, then the whole Constitution, the whole thing fails. It is the backbone of our Constitution in America. And if you don't support the press, if you are not doing and fighting and pushing back against the corporate overlords, if you happen to be in corporate media, then you're not doing your job as a journalist. That's what you're supposed to do. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's about telling the truth and informing the people.
And right now, for people here, how worried are you about that in America right now?
I'm extremely worried. I mean, look at who owns all the media companies. You've got News Corp, right, which is Fox. You've got CBS is owned by Paramount. CNN is soon to be owned by Paramount. ABC is owned by Disney, and on and on and on. It's all entertainment companies and very rich
tech companies.
Tech companies and very rich people who want their particular ideology spread. And if it's conservative or if it's MAGA, if it's Trumpism, that's what they want spread, and that's what's going to come out of their particular platforms. It should not be that way. I think that they should stop looking at journalistic organizations as corporate centers for the companies. We should have a carve-out where that does not happen, and that's not happening. So I'm very worried about it right now.
Okay. All right. Don Lemon, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.